It's now time for Energy Insights, where you get an inside view and local perspective of all the oil and gas progress going on in the Mid-Ohio Valley. This program is brought to you by the Southeastern Ohio Oil and Gas Association and can be heard every Saturday at 9 a.m. on WMOA AM 1490, FM 101.3, JAWS Country FM 100.9, and ESPN Radio AM 630 and FM 92.9. Here's Johnny Wharf, your local host.
Saturday morning in America, and specifically Marietta, we've got George Brown. He is the executive director of the Energy Education, Ohio Oil and Gas Energy Education Program, and maybe we can get to it a little bit. Coming off of the Oil and Gas Association meeting, I had a chance to be part of a panel there, and it was interesting for me because, you know, I do this show trying to let folks know about the good things that the oil and gas industry does, but the other side of that, when we were in that meeting, the eyes of the industry through the media. And the girl, I think, that was there talked about most of the press releases they get aren't so positive. So maybe you can tell us your thoughts about that.
Well, yeah, good morning, and thanks for having me back on. Great to be back with you in what is real America, Marietta, yeah. Ohio. Love it. But it's so important, really, Johnny, the role that you and your stations play in informing and educating your audience about what's really happening on some very important topics that are facing Ohioans right now, and that's energy and energy pricing and energy reliability, and the role that energy made here in Ohio and in Washington County and Southeastern Ohio can play to solve a lot of the big problems that we're seeing on the world stage. And what we found from our organization is recently we did a statewide poll, a survey of Ohioans from all corners of the state, and asked them their opinion about making more energy here in Ohio. And the majority is clear. Ohioans support making more natural gas and oil and producing that here in Ohio. In fact, 70% of Ohioans support continuing that clean, reliable, safe development of those natural resources here. So it's overwhelming that Ohioans are seeing that we can play that role and support what people here are doing.
Well, that's encouraging because I think it, let you walk with your head a little higher, right? A lot of times we're hearing the other side of it, and I know we're trying to change the narrative a little bit because some people, as I talked to Gene Huck, some people just still don't get it, right?
They don't on the surface, but Ohioans are smart people and they understand, the benefits, the economic benefits, the 200,000 jobs that are tied to it in Ohio. The fact that actually the conversion to electric generation from natural gas has reduced emissions by 37%, and that natural gas and oil is essential Ohio energy. In fact, 82% of Ohioans agree that natural gas and oil is essential to their everyday life, and a majority of Ohioans oppose a ban on natural gas and oil development. So Ohio's always been a very pro-energy state, and that's being reflected more and more, particularly when there are a lot of eyes on what's happening in energy. And folks in Ohio get it and should be encouraged that we can develop more of this God-given natural resource here and, again, provide real solutions to problems facing Americans.
UJEEP is the program, the energy education program with the Ohio Oil and Gas Industry, and the executive director is George Brown. We had a chance to talk, or Jerry James spoke a little bit. I think he talked about the essential energy, or if that's the term, maybe you can explain that to the listeners.
Yeah, so what we call it is our Essential Ohio Energy Public Awareness Campaign, essentialohioenergy.com, and it's a way to educate and inform Ohioans about what natural gas and oil means to living our everyday lives. The other interesting number we got in our poll is that 88% of Ohioans are concerned about inflation and the rising cost of everyday goods, and the best way to combat that is to lower energy prices. That provides pricing stability, and the way we can lower energy prices is, again, making more of it here in Ohio.
Sounds like you're getting ahead. I think isn't that what we try to do every day, get ahead just a little bit?
That's exactly correct. You get it totally right. And, the optimistic point is we can do it here in Ohio. It's not that we have a lack of resources. It's just really creating an atmosphere that encourages that development, fosters the ability to produce that product and get it to market. The solutions are out there. We just need to go after it and get it.
All right, you're in the right spot for the industry. George Brown is the executive director of the Ohio Oil and Gas Association education program. Right?
You got it right.
I know it. So we appreciate your thoughts and time, and we always get a little smarter, which is what we try to do on Saturday mornings with help from Suga. So thank you.
Johnny, thanks for the work you do. Appreciate being on.
Johnny Wharf and Energy Insights on a Saturday morning. Suddenly we're fast friends. I've got Matthew Hammond again, president of the Ohio Oil and Gas Association. We had an opportunity to speak on a couple of occasions here on the program, and I want to get into some thoughts, maybe dig a little deeper as it relates to oil and gas and alternative energy. And I'm in the radio business, Matthew, so I kind of liken it to traditional radio versus a satellite radio, and what one has and what one doesn't, or one really can't exist without the other. So maybe you can talk a little bit about, this alternative energy that we hear so much about, and how it coexists with, oil and gas.
Yeah, absolutely. There's certainly renewable energy development and investments taking place in Ohio, obviously primarily on the western part of the state. But if you look at, sort of coexisting and living all underneath one tent, we can certainly do that in a way that I think most people look at it, all of the above as a good thing. But we believe that we are, from a natural gas standpoint, reliable, we're affordable, we're abundant, and we're a great source of energy for the state, and really are starting to see an uptick in how much generation is being built from natural gas. There are, I think, anywhere between 10 to 12 natural gas-fired power generation facilities, either in some phase of the operation, permitting, construction, and I think that's proof that natural gas is not just a source of energy now, today for Ohioans, but energy of the future. And I think that we compete very well with those renewable energies, forms of energy, and that's a huge benefit to what's happening here in Ohio.
I think about some of the challenges and the issues as you represent the industry. And again, I use the analogy of from my industry, if I'm on Capitol Hill and I'm talking about small market radio, which is what I am, and then iHeart, which is the big company that has so many stations around the country. I'm on the same playing field and need to represent both. In your case, you've got big oil, and then you've got the guy down the street, right? That has a family-owned operation, and you've got to go to the table and say, "This is us," right?
Absolutely. We're the natural gas and oil industry. Some development takes place on larger scale, like shale development. But at the end of the day, our members are drilling natural gas and oil wells. They're producing wells, whether they were drilled, a year ago or 20 years ago. And there's certainly a balance that we have to strike to represent the collective interests of unconventional producers and conventional producers. But we've been able to successfully do that since shale development started in Ohio in 2011, really. And it's always just about finding a balance as part of one of the jobs of, running a trade association, a balance of what's in the best interest of the collective industry. But we've always maintained unity within the association, and I think it's worked out pretty well for us.
And this is not meant to be a curveball, but I'm just trying to think of how our listeners out there would think, and they might be thinking where their feet are in terms of, the pipeline that got shut down, and then the gas, was in a short call, and all of a sudden it's a national story. At what level, do you have to legislate, or do you get involved in that, or do you?
Well, specific to the Colonial Pipeline, we weren't involved in that line. That project's not in Ohio. We didn't have any issues with getting fuel to stations, no shortage there. And it really wasn't even almost a shortage of fuel. It was just a shortage of ways to get it to market. So that was the immediate challenge that we had there. But, when you look at, though, things that the Biden administration are looking at, it is an example of, the importance that this industry plays, not just in Ohio or the Appalachian Basin, but across the country and even on the global marketplace. Pipelines have to be able to operate. Pipelines have to be permitted. We need that infrastructure here in order to support Americans and across the country.
When you set your plan on a given day, I assume that would be cause as well for you to say, all right, sitting around the boardroom table, guys, we're good right now, but we'd better be proactive if this should happen or this should happen going forward. What's the plan?
Absolutely. I think there are always ways that you take an incident that might not immediately impact your interests, right. For example, the state of Ohio where we are, but I think it's a 50,000 level view look at how policy decisions impact what happens to the industry. How do we engage there? How do we educate not just State House folks here in Ohio, but our congressional delegation as well, and give them the tools that they need to advocate for this industry and to, look out for our best interests, which is also looking out for their constituents' best interests.
Programs Energy Insights brought to you by the Southeastern Ohio Oil and Gas Association. Our guest is Matthew Hammond. He's the president of the Ohio Oil and Gas Association, and a great opportunity for us to learn a bit about you. My only regret is that we're not doing it in person, so I hope in the future we'll have an opportunity to meet and maybe sit down and do some more shows. But we thank you for the insights and the knowledge, and wish you the best going forward. If you need anything from our neck of the woods, feel free to give us a call. But as always, thank you for your time.
Thank you for listening to Energy Insights, brought to you by the Southeastern Ohio Oil and Gas Association. Tune in every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. on WMOA Local Radio, JAWS Country, and ESPN Radio, as Johnny Wharf brings you your local and inside perspectives going on in the oil and gas industry right here in the Mid-Ohio Valley.